There's a lot of ways to edit and mix acoustically recorded drums. In these videos, I'm gonna focus on the toms. Usually there's a lot of cymbal bleed in the tom mics. First, I would suggest cleaning up the tom parts. I like to do this going fill by fill. First, I do a rough edit on every fill. And when I've done that on every fill in the track, I go one step further. I use tab to transient in Pro Tools to remove everything before the first hit on that specific tom. And from here you can do a lot of different things. The first method is the fade out method. Let's solo the first tom here and have a listen. So what I used to do here is find the second snare transient after the fill, or at least some kind of transient after the fill. Here is the snare. That's okay. And you can have a fade. That's okay as well. Or you can automate a low pass filter. Okay, let's listen to this tom 4. You can hear the cymbal really loud after the hits. Another way of doing this is using Shaperbox 3, creating a multiband volume envelope. You select the volume module and you need to trigger from audio, or you can sidechain audio to it, or you can trigger from MIDI. In this case, I'm using only the audio since I cleaned up the tracks enough. Make sure it only triggers on the hits. And now you can go and create your first envelope. So now it's getting the full frequency. To create a multiband, you just need to drag this one. And you can see here in the analyzer where the fundamental of the tom is. So I like to split it after the fundamental. So now this is the top frequencies, this envelope. And we need to create the low end envelope. Now you can decide how long you want the tom to sustain. Let's bypass it and enable it. Now you can EQ it pretty hard without having the cymbal bleed destructing everything. Another method, and this one is a bit more obscure, use the snap heap plugin, insert a filter, find a cutoff. Here you can see in the frequency analyzer. Then you can add a modulator, audio follower. I like to set the attack to 0. You could either use the plus follower or the plus minus follower. They will yield different results. Then you need to modulate the cutoff. And use the gain here to make sure that it's behaving like you want it to. And if you use the plus minus setup, and you can mess with the release. Snap heap before and after. Pretty cool. Another method is using the transgressor to do this. First I find the threshold. And the cool thing about this one is that you can EQ the transient in the same time. So let's first turn off the sustain to listen to the transient. I'll adjust the hold to figure out the length. Now I can start to EQ it some more. Let's add the sustain back in, and you can use a low pass and remove the high end. Transgressor before and after. Another method is using the Pro MB by FabFilter as an expander, as a multiband expander. Create a band here, use expand mode, set the threshold, put the range all the way down, fast attack, fast release. I like to use some look ahead here, and the ratio all the way up, and a slower release. So before and after. The last method here is using Big Beautiful Door, because here you can EQ the open and the closed gate differently. Figure out the threshold. Let's turn off the closed gate. And adjust it so it only catches the transients. And now let's add the closed gain back in and put a low pass on the closed gain. And maybe EQ the open gain. Big Beautiful Door before and after. So as you can see, there's a lot of ways to handle the cymbal bleeds and snare bleed in the toms. You can also apply this to the kick drum and the snare drum. Good mixing.